Kuzu Zangpo and a very warm welcome to Bhutan this week. I am Namgye Wangchuk and our top stories. His Majesty the King graced the opening ceremony of the 5th Leadership Training of Scouts in Wangipota. Weak Department of Geology and Mines and its monitoring system are the cause of corruption in the mining sector. And orange exporters in Gyalifu and Jamgang experience a bleak season this year. His Majesty the King graced the opening ceremony of the 5th Leadership Training for Scouts and granted an audience to the participants. The training is being organized at the Military Training Center in Tanchuling.
His Majesty the King said the future of the country depends on the capabilities of the youth of today.
Deki Sumi, guardians of peace, stability, unity. Anisa. Gekhabki, Deki Sundindi, Chegibera, Chachishugo, Machinamberu, Dupsu, Yerantutu, Vechamtutu Vidu, Ranki Lam Lucidi, Semfaja, Machirakaira, Rubin, Selapsupere Jagos.
123 scouts are taking part in the 3-week-long training. It is being organized by the Department of Youth and Sports and held twice a year for class 10 and 12 students. Scouts who have excelled in various areas are selected by their respective schools and the Dzongkha committees to take part in the program. The participants of the 5th Leadership Training Program are the students of class 10.
Jondardenalu chamatobi shilu nigimi sedi maru chibe lazambo ki chusulu the yusubigi the lamchinga gi thonsupchi sishunna.
It is such a very golden opportunity to be here, and we are selected among best of the best, and I'm very lucky to be here.
During the training, scouts will undergo intensive physical training and will be equipped with skills such as first aid, disaster risk reduction and preparedness, firefighting, rock climbing and rafting, among others. The leadership training for scouts was initiated in 2013 upon the royal command of His Majesty the King. Compiled for Chonidama, Pemasuki for BBS News.
His Majesty the King and His Majesty the 4th Drukgyalpo graced the consecration ceremony of the new campus of Tango University of Buddhist Studies at Dodena on Monday. Other members of the royal family were also present during the event.
His Majesty the King was received in a traditional Chibra ceremony followed by marchang before the campus was consecrated. Yenten Lebe and Lesok Lebe presided over the consecration ceremony. The campus has a Tokang, academic building, dormitories, guest houses, library and IT facilities for the monks. Currently, there are nearly 400 monks studying at the Tango University of Buddhist Studies. It was constructed at a cost of 250 million with financial support from the Government of India. The university is situated about 17 kilometers away from Thimphu city. The academic session in this new campus will begin next year. Sringzam, BBS News.
Prime Minister Sring Tobgay said the decision to upgrade Kamji Middle Secondary School in Chuka to a central school is his decision and not that of Phuntsholing's Member of Parliament. Earlier, people of Dungna had accused Phuntsholing MP Rinzan Dorji for influencing the decision to relocate the central school from their Geok to Kamji under Geling Geok.
Meeting the people of Dungna yesterday, Lenchin Sring Topke said the decision to upgrade Dungna Lower Secondary School to a central school was a mistake on Education Ministry's part. Lenchin also apologized for the mistake. Close to 100 residents of Dungna gathered for the meeting.
If you want to upgrade the existing school, we can do it. But we do not have enough students to upgrade it to a central school. The Education Ministry and the Minister had made a mistake. It is me who corrected this error. You all are accusing MP Rinzan for the change in decision, but that is not the case here. For him, it won't make much difference regarding the central school's location. We have to understand that Kamji has more population and students. Thus, a larger part of the population will be benefited.
Prime Minister explained that apart from enrollment, lack of proper road and other infrastructure attributed to the change in decision. Dungna Geok is one of the most remote Geok of Chuka. It is about 45 kilometers away from the nearest highway in Ganglaka.
I can close my eyes and easily give everything you want. And you will think I'm doing a good job as a Prime Minister. But that's not how it is done. We should look at how our decisions would benefit the country. We must also see how people of Dungna will be benefited. You just have 286 students. But if you want to upgrade the Geok school to a middle secondary, then we will do it. We will also work towards infrastructure development. And this is the main reason I will be sending Education Minister himself to the Geok.
Prime Minister also said the construction of central school in a place like Dungna would take over 3 years. Also, if at all established, the students of Dungna would not be able to avail themselves the central school facilities. Lenchin, however, assured development and upgrades would eventually come to the Geok. For now, he said, priority will be given to road. The government has a budget of 135 million Newton to blacktop the 45-kilometer road from Ganglaka, including another 19 kilometers towards Metaka from Dungna. Compiled for King Attaché in Phuntsholing, Sonam Lhamo for BBS News.
Weak Department of Geology and Mines and its poor monitoring system led to corruption in the mining sector. This was one of the main reasons highlighted in the research findings of mining industry in Bhutan. The incidence of bribe in the mining sector was found to be more than 30%.
According to the joint research conducted by Anti-Corruption Commission, Department of Geology and Mines and Royal Institute of Management, the Department of Geology and Mines lacked strategic development plan and human resource requirement. The budget received by the department was less than the proposed budget. The department also faced severe shortage of mining engineers. There were lack of personal computers and easy access to the internet for the inspectors. Apart from lack of training to the inspectors, there were insufficient financial earnings provided to them. The inspectors had limited interactions with the head office, and the head office rarely took their suggestions seriously.
Secondly, we have a recommendation with regards to establishment of mining regulatory authority. The current scenario of the DGM is that they have been playing a dual role, in the sense that they have a regulatory role, and then as well as they are also responsible for the facilitation of the mineral development in the country. So these two things, even they contradict each other, and then even they do seems to have a conflict of interest.
The research findings have also recommended that effective monitoring, ethics and integrity training should be provided to the inspectors. The department should consider providing at least 3 to 4 computers in each regional offices. The findings also suggested instituting annual report by the mines and by the department besides starting non-routine inspection. The Prime Minister said The recommendations will be looked into and discussed with the Economic Affairs Ministry and the Royal Civil Service Commission. Chetan Dupchu, PBS News.
The chairperson of National Council clarified that the tour guides have been misinformed with regard to their recommendation on liberalization of daily tourist tariff. The chairperson Dasho Sonam Kyunga said the House instead recommended reforming the pricing mechanism for transparency in the tourism sector. According to the chairperson, pricing mechanism includes royalty charges, tariff and expenditure of the tour agents.
Yesterday at the guides meeting, the guides understood that the National Council has recommended to liberalize the daily tourist tariff. You are of the opinion that they misunderstood the recommendation. Tizin, can you clarify on this?
The National Council's recommendation on tourism has never been on the liberalization of fixed daily tariff. I must admit that during the course of the deliberations, there were suggestions for rethinking about the fixed daily tariff. However, the National Council's recommendation has been on the reform of the pricing system in order to make it more transparent so as to discourage malpractices such as undercutting. I would like to emphasize that the misrepresentation and miscommunication of NC's recommendation on tourism has been because people chose to focus on the deliberations and not on the actual resolutions that had been voted and passed. I would also like to highlight that the recommendation is not just on the pricing mechanism but also on the overall tourism sector, whereby in order to make Bhutan and continue to keep it a high-end destination for tourism, the Council has called upon the attention of the government to formulate a comprehensive and sustainable tourism policy and also table a bill for a tourism act.
Tizin, can you be more specific on new pricing system that will determine the tourism sector as a whole?
If and when the government chooses to act upon the National Council's recommendation, raising or keeping the daily fixed tariff will only be a consequence, a result of a reform exercise. What the National Council has recommended is to reform the pricing mechanism in order to make it more transparent and ensure that the tourists get the value for their money. The general concern today is that because of malpractices such as undercutting, that Bhutan may be oversold, but the actual money that comes into Bhutan may not be one at which Bhutan was sold at. And therefore, the tourists, whether it is in terms of food, whether in terms of hotel, whether it's in terms of other services, they do not get their value for money. Many people are concerned about liberalization. Again, let me reiterate that National Council has never recommended liberalization of tariff. The misunderstanding is that tourists pay their $65 royalty, and then as soon as they reach our entry points at Paro or Phinsaling, then we leave them on their own, encouraging mass tourism. This is exactly the opposite of the National Council's intent. In fact, we would still want our tourists, both regional and international tourists, to use local tour operators, use local guides, so that mass tourism is actually curtailed and that our noble objective is not compromised.
It has been more than a month since the orange harvest season started and the yield still seems bleak. This has left orange exporters and orchard owners in Panbang under Shemgung Dzongkak disappointed. A few regular buyers in the region said comparatively, orange yield has drastically dropped.
Normally each orchard used to produce 8 to 10 mini truckloads, but this time the yield is just enough for 2 or 3 Bolero pickup trucks. The harvest is disappointing. We didn't expect the yield to drop this drastically. Last season we used to get enough from Norbugang, but this time it was not the case. So thinking it would be better in Panbang, we came here. But things are not different here.
Orange is one of the main sources of income for the people in the region.
Before, on an average, we used to earn 40 to 50,000 yutam from every orchard.
Pema Nobu said the fruits drop before its harvest time. This, he said, has been common with other orchards as well.
The yield might have been affected by the disease. The fruits dropped twice before the harvest season. We received enough support from the Agriculture Ministry, but still then, it could not be controlled. They said spraying chemical would not prove too much of help.
Agriculture officials said the dropping of fruits, technically known as fruit fry, is common for every fruit. However, it can be controlled through good orchard management. Proper dumping of the dropped fruits and regular clear of bushes in the orchard are some of the ways officials added. For Pema Samdrup in Shemgang, Namge Wangchuk, BBS News. Similarly, orange export season for exporters in Gyeongju is no different. Last year, by this time, exporters individually exported more than 20 truckloads. But this year, it has come down to 7 or 8 truckloads of orange.
The usually activity filled orange depot by the bank of Mao River wears a deserted look this season. There are neither mini trucks nor people.
Last year, by this time of season, I exported around 15 truckloads of oranges. But this time, it's just 6. The yield has declined drastically.
Last year, both the yield and quality was good. Compared to last year, the yield this season is just around 30%. Even at the orchards, which we buy before the harvest season, fruits are seen dropping before time. It's a loss for us. We also have to pay the workers hired for packing, and even the truck drivers. Many of them are running out of work.
With lesser yield, most of the workers hired for packing are left without work. Some of them have been working for Bhutanese exporters for almost 20 years. They said they never experienced a season like this time.
Since 1989, I have been working for Bhutanese exporters. And this year, I feel it will be a very lean season for them. There are so many workers who came from Bihar. But if the yield is not good, then it will equally affect us.
I've been working at Orange Depot in Sarbang since 1992. And until last season, I've been making a good income. But this year is going to be difficult.
The season this time is not good. Back home, I have a family to feed. I am worried.
This season, so far, a little over 5,000 metric tons of orange has been exported from Gyeongju Depot. People from Dagana, Tirang, Sarpang, Shemgang and Tongsa bring their oranges to the depot. While a box of bigger orange is sold for $13, the smaller ones fetch $10. For Puba, Tamchuzam, BBS News.
Residents of Kamishu Market along the Wangdi-Chirang Highway will have to vacate the area by end of this year. This notification was issued by its Gyeok administration more than a week ago. And this has left the residents, especially those occupying government lands, worried.
Of the 14 occupants in Kamichu Market, the Gyeok administration said 7 are illegal. The notification is issued as per the Land Act, which states construction or occupying of any land, irrespective of government or others, is not allowed if it does not belong to the occupant.
We have been issuing several notifications to vacate since last year, but none complied with it. And this time, both illegal occupants and term holders will have to vacate by the end of this year because Punasajo Hydropower Project Authority is going to construct a substation in the area.
BHPA has designated land substitutes for farm holders opposite Kamichu market. However, for those without farm, they say their source of livelihood is at stake. Most of them run shops in the area for livelihood.
We would be really happy if we are also allowed to shift to the new area. While some of us here have family and elderly parents to take care of, there are others who are single parent and have children to look after. Maybe the government could identify us a temporary area where we can live for a year or two. Then it would be very grateful. In my opinion, it will be helpful for us if the government could identify a place for us where we can earn a decent livelihood by continuing our business.
For farm holders, only 3 of them have taken the compensation and land substitute.
For the 3 term holders who accepted the compensation, we just have to demarcate their land in the new area. But the other 4 refused the compensation. They complained that they have collected timber to construct houses at Kamichu, but later it was not allowed, saying that the project would need the area. Following this, they were informed that they would be duly compensated. However, like the GUP said, the compensation was limited and not what they expected.
However, even for those who accepted to move out by 31st December say it is too soon.
I don't think it's possible to shift by this month end. We have already raised the issue and would like to again request if it could be extended until we finish constructing houses at the new site.
The farm holders who accepted the compensation run shops in Kamichu, while the 4 other who refused do not have houses but own land. Their compensation checks are still with the Geok administration. Compiled for Kunjangtile, Taralimbu for BBS News.
Many say the recently inaugurated model bus stop at Changjiji in Thimphu is neither user-friendly nor aesthetically Bhutanese in design. The 48-seat model bus stop was inaugurated last week.
The model bus stop, constructed in line with the Intelligent Transport System's recommendations, contradicts cross-national happiness pillar of preserving culture.
Personally, I'm not very satisfied with the current structure that is put in place, and it is neither aesthetically Bhutanese nor I feel it can protect the waiting passenger from the rain and shine. I feel with the current cost that is estimated for the current model bus stop, we can do a provide much better bus stop. So I hope government will really reconsider their strategies or decision to build more bus stops by resorting to build a very convenient, cost-efficient and user-friendly bus stops.
Even though the government has spent a huge amount of money for the construction, the current model bus stop appears less efficient. It cannot protect the waiting commuters from cold and snowfall during winter. There is also no proper place to stay away from rain during summer.
Some took to social media to voice their dissatisfaction of the new structure. Many said it is not worth the cost and lack basic utilities. The construction of the model bus stop cost almost $1 million. Information and Communication Ministry's project coordinator Sonam Dendup said, since it is a pilot project, the ministry is open to criticisms and feedback.
For Thimphu city, we have a plan of constructing more than 70 of bus stops. So for that, those criticism are very, very important for us. But that does not mean that we will be taking all the criticism that is being posted in the Facebook. We will be very selective. We will see what criticism are positive or that warrant actually worth of taking it. So based on that, we will be actually trying to improve our future plans and programs with regards to bus stops.
He added, the cost incurred was high since most of the equipment and materials procured were just for one bus stop. Sonam Dendop said the cost incurred in the future will be cut by half. On the other hand, there were some people who said the model bus stop is protecting them from sun and they need not have to stand. United Nations Development Programme funded the model bus stop. Sonam Singh, BBS News.
Well, that is all we have for this week. Join us next week, same time, same channel. Thank you for now.